Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, welcome to today's special podcast. I'm Aufa El Hikam, and today we'll explore a fascinating topic, the influence of Western culture on Muslim youth in Indonesia. Joining me is a brilliant young student. He is Hilmi Aidan, a junior high school student who is also a santri in Tarbiyatul Muallimin Al-Islamiyah. Assalamualaikum Hilmi.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi everyone. Firstly, I would like to convey my big thanks to Darunnajah Cipining Islamic Boarding School for having me here. I'm so excited to share my thoughts in this discussion.
The pleasure is mine, Hilmi. But before we dive into our discussion, could you tell us a bit more about what grade you're in and what it's like to be a santri?
Sure, I'm in class 2 at TMI, and being a santri is truly meaningful for me. It's all about living Islam deeply, learning both religious knowledge and how to practice in daily life. We focus a lot on being disciplined and mindful of our faith.
That's wonderful. Now let's jump into today's topic. How would you define culture, and why do you think it's very important for us?
Well, as I read in the Oxford Advanced Learner Dictionary, culture refers to the customs, ideas, and social behaviors of particular people or society. It shapes our identity, it shapes how we think, it shapes how we live, it shapes how we interact with each other. It's like foundation of who we are as Indonesians and as Muslims.
Great definition. Now Western culture has become so pervasive in our modern life. It's everywhere, in our music, in our movies, and maybe in our lifestyles. But what about the impacts? Do they have some positive impacts on us?
I think there are some positive aspects, like Western culture has improved access to education, especially online platforms like YouTube and Google, which allow us to learn new skills. And also, critical thinking, which is promoted in Western education, helps us analyze things more deeply, which align with Islamic values of knowledge and reflection.
True, there are definitely opportunities to learn more globally. But when we talk about Western culture, we also talk about some values, like gender equality and freedom of expressions. What do you think about these ideas? Do they have positive influences on us?
I think they do, but there's a balance to be found. In Indonesia, we started recognizing gender equality and individual freedoms more widely, but some of the interpretations, like in the West, can be extreme. For example, gender equality is very important, but it should always align with the responsibilities we have in Islam. Islam teaches us equality, but it also has clear guidelines for each role, which sometimes gets overlooked in the West version.
I agree with you.
Thanks.
But you know that every coin has two sides. What about the negative impacts?
I think the biggest issue is the loss of our cultural identity. Many young people start to feel embraced by our traditional values and view them as outdated. Another concern is moral degradations that like acceptance of casual relationships, which goes against Islamic teachings. Additionally, the influence of social media has led to an increased pressure to conform to Western beauty standards, which can harm self-esteem.
That's true. Social media can be a double-edged sword. Speaking of social media, I remember once teachers say that technology itself is neutral. It depends on how we use it. For example, many Islamic scholars now use technology and social media to spread their da'wah. This is a great example of how modern tools can be used for supporting traditional Islamic values.
Exactly, just like how our teachers use WhatsApp to share Islamic lectures and reminders. It's not about rejecting modern tools, but using them wisely to strengthen our knowledge and faith.
That's a great point. And another thing I find interesting is how Islam is growing worldwide. Many Western universities now have Muslim prayer rooms, and there are student associations that help Muslim students maintain their faith while studying abroad.
Yes, I even heard about Sheikh Ahmad, who got his PhD in London while studying his faith. It shows that as long as we have strong foundation in our religion, we can thrive anywhere.
That's really inspiring. And not just in education, Western countries have also contributed in a lot of science and research. Many of their achievements were actually built on discoveries from Muslim scholars on the past, right?
Exactly. Islam has always encouraged seeking knowledge. Many of the foundation of modern medicine, mathematics, and anatomy were developed by Muslim scholars like Al-Khwarizmi and Ibn Sina.
That's amazing. It shows that knowledge is very universal, and as long as we stay grounded in our faith, we can benefit from different cultures, just like how our pesantren encourages us to study about English, not only for academics, but also for da'wah.
Yes, the Prophet Muhammad SAW even encouraged us to learn different language to spread Islam and build connections with countries.
Okay, wonderful. And speaking of connections, sport is another example.
Yes.
Many Western sports are very popular in our pesantren, like basketball and also soccer. But in reality, sports teach discipline and teamwork, isn't it?
That's right. Our pesantren has a soccer team. It's a great way to stay healthy and learning about teamwork. Plus, many Muslim athletes maintain their faith while competing internationally.
Exactly. For example, is Muhammad Salah. He's a great example of a Muslim youth who stays true to Islamic values while playing in Western country.
Exactly. It's proof that we can engage with global culture without losing our identity. The key is to balance taking what's beneficial while staying firm in our faith.
That's a perfect way to summarize our discussion. But now with all these challenges, what can Muslim youth do to navigate all the Western cultures while still staying true to their beliefs?
So the key is to have strong foundation in our faith. Understanding Islam deeply helps us filter what fits in our values and what doesn't. And also we need to use technology wisely and make it tool for good, like learning and self-improvement. And I think our parents and our teachers is playing a huge role in guiding us too.
That's such a great point. And I'd like to emphasize that in this era of 5.0 with everything online and interconnected, it's getting harder to escape these pressures.
Yes, that's true.
In fact, studies show that youth in Western countries are facing some alarming trends. For example, a study in 2020 by the National Institute of Mental Health found that depression, suicide, and drug addiction rates have risen dramatically, especially among young people. Between 2010 and 2020, the suicide rates among teens in the US increased by 20%. What a big number.
That's very concerning. It shows how really important it is to protect our values from this negative influence.
Yes, exactly. With all these challenges, what we can do to navigate Western culture while still staying true to our faith?
So the key is to have strong foundation in our faith. Understanding Islam deeply helps us filter what fits in our values and what doesn't. And also we need to use technology wisely and make it a tool for good, like learning and self-improvement. And I think our parents and our teachers is playing a huge role in guiding us too.
That's a powerful point. And I need to address that it's very crucial to always turn to the Quran and Sunnah as our true guide in this life. Because I think that many secular societies fail to consider the concept of fitnah. So fitnah is trials and errors that can come with being surrounded by distractions and misguided values. But our faith teaches us to be cautious of those trials. And these are some secular societies don't account for.
That's such a great point. The Quran and the Sunnah really provide the wisdom to navigate this challenge.
Yes, exactly. Before we wrap up, Hilmi, do you have any advice for your fellow Muslims who might be struggling with these issues?
Of course. So first is embrace your Muslim identity with pride. I mean, it's beautiful way of life. And the second is be wise with how you use technology and don't let them distract you from your faith. And third is choose your friends carefully. Surround yourself with those who support you and encourage your values.
Beautifully said, Hilmi. As we wrap up, let me leave you with a quote from Sheikh Hamza Yusuf. So, your religion is your compass. Without it, you risk losing your way in a world full of distractions.
What a quote. It shows how really important it is to stay true in our faith.
Thank you so much for being with us today, Hilmi. It's been a pleasure having you on today's podcast.
Thank you. It's been hard too to be part of this discussion.
And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. Remember that Western culture can either be a blessing or a challenge. It's up to us to choose how we respond. Stay true to your faith and it will guide you in your life, inshallah. See you in the next episode Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.